All right, this one's live.
What is live? Is anybody there? Okay. I'm looking at your website online, and you're quite the Renaissance woman, Tamara. Acupuncture incorporating.
Edit post.
Kathleen Core commented on your event.
All right, this one's live. We're live.
What does that mean? That I can talk into it?
Yeah.
Is somebody talking to me?
Why are comments disabled? I want people to be able to comment. Allow, show all. Okay.
Okay, so this is the only thing that I have is this. So she wrote the question at 9 a.m.
What comment is that? Where is that?
It's to my email, but I don't know, or I don't know. It's from Google.
Here we go.
Okay.
All right, I'm just gonna get up. You want to just start talking?
Do you know if it's
on?
It is on?
Yeah, we're recording. Okay.
Is Kathleen listening?
She just posted a comment.
She just posted a comment. So
This is her comment.
so we know that we're live. 0 viewers. Is that?
Yes.
So if you had somebody that came on,
It would show there.
it would show there. So in this case, what is this?
Okay, so it comes on.
If somebody comes on. I'm hearing myself. It's recording me.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'm hearing myself after I'm speaking.
Oh. That's
Okay, that it didn't do it that time.
oh no. Is it doing it now? Talk. Is it still happening?
Talking in here.
That's fine. I'm just gonna have to deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Now it's you talking. It's recording us and playing it back.
Yes, it is. But no.
Why should I have this in my ears then?
Because other people will be talking.
Okay.
Do you hear it now?
Mm-mm.
No?
No.
It's not doing it anymore?
No, it's not doing it anymore.
Right, it's because it was playing out of his. Alright.
So do I comment?
Yeah.
Okay. How do I respond to Kathleen's
Well,
question?
this is her question right here.
So shouldn't that be a typed response though? It was a typed question.
No, people typically just type in questions and you respond to it.
I want to ask her if well, she's not on this.
Mom, don't. Just. That's not what this is. You don't. No, people ask the question in the form that they want to ask it and you respond over this. That's what the whole thing is.
Well, may I ask you a question? Since there's nobody on here right now.
No, the whole point is that this is recorded so that we can use this in the future.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so the best way for me to address this is to read the question and then answer it.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't.
So we're going to start now as if we're actually doing it rather
I
than
didn't
talking in the background.
understand that. Okay, so that's what's happening?
Yes.
So and then we're going to make the recording live? It's not live?
It is live right now.
Okay,
That's fine. Just talk.
I just do not
Just
comprehend.
People
So-
start talking to you through your headphones.
So, how long do we do this for?
Well, we'll see who shows up. No one shows up for 30 minutes.
Okay. So, I have a question here from Kathleen Korth, and she says, I'm looking at your website online and you are quite the Renaissance woman, Tamara. Acupuncturist, herbal alchemist, incorporating the healing properties of the honeybee and bone broth chef. You are certainly not a one-size-fits-all healer. I'd love to hear how you use these various modalities in your practice, especially in light of the daily barrage of environmental toxins we face in our food and in the air. Well, certainly we are under attack. so to speak, from lots of toxins and really poisons and uh, um, in the form of pesticides and herbicides and even pharmaceutical wastes and in our water, on our food, and in the air we're breathing. And I think we're slowly really beginning to see the massive impact on our health from these, um, from our exposure to these chemicals. And I think we see changes in our fertility. We're seeing changes in our neurological capacities, and we're also seeing changes in our ability to, well, in our immune system's ability to address and clean our body's blood and our cells. And I think our lymph systems are quite overtaxed. And as a result of that, we are witnessing a tremendous rise in autoimmune disorders. And how do we address this? Well, I think first and foremost, trying to incorporate into our lives foods that are mainly organically raised foods, probably local and organic is the way to go dietarily. And it's not to say that all organic food is 100% free of chemicals, because our water tables are really, they're full of chemical debris. We're really saturated in chemicals. The entire planet and the oceans are saturated in these chemicals. But it is the choice for choosing, the lesser of two evils between commercially produced food that is just lathered in chemical pesticide, herbicides, fungicides, and an option of something that is, at least we're attempting to keep clean and clear of those ag chemicals. And so I think that is step one. Step two is water, and a good source of water. It's certainly not tap water full of xenoestrogens and lots of chemical additives. I think spring water or filtered water is the way to go, and enough water. So if we're drinking, I think 2 to 3 quarts of water a day, then we're giving our bodies an opportunity to flush out what we are being exposed to. So I think water is really a huge piece to that puzzle, and it's something that we have total control over. I mean, not necessarily the quality of tap water, but if we're filtering that, we have the ability to actually put it in our mouths. So, I mean, I actually find among my clients, there a tremendous amount of dehydration. We're not in the habit of consuming water. I mean, mostly people drink teas and coffees in the morning, and then they go all day. They may drink some kind of juice in the middle of the day, and then they may be drinking wine or beer at night. I mean, that is what most folks are doing with their beverages, and water is not playing a role in there for a lot of people. So I think in terms of cleaning house internally, water is a great tool. And how about just adding something as simple as some lemon to that? I mean, that would be a great way to help purify and support our body's cleansing of these environmental toxins. I mean, some folks also in their own homes use a HEPA filter to help clear the air. There are also these ozone machines that folks are using to help clean and purify the air within their own living spaces. And so I think those are a couple of behavioral pieces. I mean, and of course you mentioned bone stock, and bone stock is something that I'm going to be teaching on in a class in the winter. And bone stock, I really have come to feel, is a very powerful tool in supporting our body's core vitality. I see it as just as much an antioxidant and nourishing, optimizing food as I would see the ashwagandha, or the rhodiola, or the ginsengs, or the codonopsis, or huang chi, or any of those plants. So bone stock is an incredibly powerful tool for helping heal any inflammation along our digestive tract, which I think almost all of us have some forms of inflammation in that system, just because we're eating foods that aren't all pure. And in addition to that, there's tremendous mineral support that comes out of eating bone stock and drinking bone stock. And I tell you, just when I drink that warm in the morning, my whole body just feels like it relaxes. It feels so nourished and cared for. And something as simple as a half a cup of warm bone stock is, I think, a great tool. Herbally speaking, I think the one that we've heard the most about in recent times is the active ingredient resveratrol, which is primarily found in Japanese knotweed, which is a plant that grows here in California and up into Oregon and Washington. And this resveratrol has been associated with some age, with longevity enhancing properties, kind of like the fountain of youth. And also Japanese knotweed is something we also use because it protects the nervous system. It helps aid circulation in the body. It's cardiotonic, really. It's quite age-defying. You can also find resveratrol in in red grapes. I think in also cranberry. Some of our fruits also have resveratrol in them. And the Japanese knotweed is something I also use for addressing the kind of the joint pain that's found with Lyme spirochete infections. And that's one of our main plants that we use for that. So, I mean, all in all, I think that those are my go-to tools. And I think in addition to that, any kind of exercise that actually helps kind of activate and move the blood circulation, to move the sludge, is a very important part of the whole package. And so those are some of the pieces that I think can be really helpful with working with environmental toxins and pollutants. And of course, you can always take an adaptogen, which is a plant that is consumed to help optimize any body function. And those antioxidants, they all come from plants, because plants, as people, suffer from from oxidation from the from free radicals that are created as a natural part of the metabolic process, but also from these exposures to environmental chemicals in our food and air and water. And those free radicals are associated with degenerative disease and with breakdown in the body. And, these kind of, these electron, you know, uh, these electrons that are circulating in the body are really disruptors. They're trying to attach themselves to other molecules, and they destabilize the body. So this also happens in plants themselves. So plants have created, they have secondary metabolites that they have created to address oxidation in themselves. And so when we eat these plants that are high in antioxidants, we are just like the plants themselves, using that tool to treat the oxidation in our own cells, that come from radiation and pollution and inflammation and poor diet and tissue injuries, and all of those also create free radicals in the body. So I think, one of the parts of the plants that's so wonderful for addressing that are the enzymes that we find in plants, and coenzyme Q10, glutathione. These are enzyme cofactors that can really help our body to address the free radicals. Also things like vitamin C and flavonoids and polyphenols from plants. So, some of our great plants that can support that are plants like the Japanese knotweed, but also plants like astragalus, which I mentioned yesterday in the podcast. I mean, this is a great plant in Chinese medicine that we use to activate the qi and to support our immune function and our digestive function, and lift that which has sunk, so to speak. Huang Qi or astragalus is something that when there is sinking in the organs, we use it to lift the organs also. So it's a wonderful plant for that. Also Codonopsis or Dongshen. This is another plant that we use to help really activate and optimize body function. I also like something like nettle leaf. Nettle leaf is a wonderful plant that you could make a pretty concentrated tea out of just by taking a quart jar and adding a tablespoon of dried nettle to, and maybe in the evening, then pouring boiling water over that and letting it sit overnight. And then the next morning, you can, drink throughout the day that concentrated nettle infusion. You could pour a little in a cup and add some hot water to it, kind of, and throughout the day, drink that down. So what does nettle do? It detoxes the body. It is absolutely wonderful for helping with flow and circulation for the body. It's also can be an astringent if there's bleeding that's happening in the body, either the bladder or even excess menstrual bleeding. And it is also can be helpful with inflammation in the prostate. it's a, it's a tonic. It nurtures, it enlivens the body. And externally, nettle's one of those plants that has been used traditionally to help to clear the surface of the body. It creates urticaria, which is like little hives all over the body. And you would actually create that that heat rash by beating yourself with stinging nettle around tissue that's arthritic in nature to help create flow and activate the immune system in that tissue to remove debris and clear and open the flow to that area to heal a joint, for instance. I did that a couple of years ago at a women's conference on my back, about 10 minutes of beating my back with stinging nettle. I thought it felt extraordinarily refreshing. It's a very Russian thing in traditional medicine, very Russian thing to do. I think they even do that in San Francisco at the Russian baths. I think they use nettle, that you can get a little stimulation with nettle and then go into the tubs. And so it's one of our it's an incredibly wonderful plant and really fun, a fun plant to work with on the skin. And also I wanted to add that, another way in which you can help to rid your body of toxins or to help your lymph along in that process is simply skin brushing with a dry bristle brush. I like to have folks skin brush to the abdomen for debris, kind of immune debris export through the colon. So I have people I don't have folks doing circular brushing. I have them doing long, slow brushing into the, up all of the limbs, up the leg limbs, down the arm limbs, into the torso, and then down the neck, over the breasts, or over the chest, into the belly, and down the back, into the belly. And that is another fantastic tool for supporting lymphatic function. What are some of my other favorite things to do for toxins? I think, Edgar C. Casey's castor packs. Probably this is one of the great detox tools for the gut and for reducing inflammation in the gut. And the castor oil is applied to the abdomen. There are YouTube videos that can give you kind of step-by-step process. Ultimately, what's happening here is you're adding that castor bean oil to the belly and you're heating it up, and you're using a cloth to help pull toxins and inflammation out of the omentum, that apron-like wrapping that surrounds the intestinal tract. And that oil is an astringent. It pulls. I also use that oil, in my face as one of my strong cleansing facial oils. It helps to free the tissue from heat, toxin, inflammation, and using the castor oils on the abdomen can have a tremendous effect on what's happening there. And if there is constipation, you're involved, you certainly are having backup of toxins. You want to make sure that you're having a very, what I would call a fulfilling bowel movement at least once a day. Some folks are having bowel movements twice a day. Bowel movements all day long, several times a day, doesn't also necessarily mean your colon is really freeing itself of fecal debris, there may be some other issue going on there. So, but basically, I think it's certainly important to make sure that we're not going several days in a row without elimination. And that is how your body is is freeing itself from toxins and cellular debris and dead cells and waste. So I think that's really important. So there are some thoughts that I have about how to work with supporting immune function and how to use some different modalities for protecting yourself against environmental toxins. Just wondering if there may be some other questions that folks may have. Okay, I don't see another email question coming in, so I'm going to I'm just going to talk a little bit about a post I put up this morning and something I've been working on over this past month, which is one of our food remedies for cleansing, and that's apple cider vinegar. And when we use apple cider vinegar to cleanse in the body, I think that's a very traditional remedy. I think that what I've observed is it does a wonderful job of moving blood, of warming the body, and of helping the liver qi to move. And what do I mean by that? In Chinese medicine, we talk about constrained liver qi as the way the body responds to stress. That means that when there is stress impacting our body, the response of the body is to tighten, to shield, to protect itself. And as the body does that, there's less movements. There's less flow happening in the body. The liver is located under the right rib cage, which really shares kind of a somatic zone with the diaphragm itself, which is the musculature that's involved in assisting our breathing. So I think oftentimes under stress, we get diaphragmatic constriction. So we get less, we're breathing less, we're bringing in less oxygen into our bodies. And in Chinese medicine, that liver reflex area under the right rib cage gets congested. And there are some very specific patterns of symptoms associated with liver qi congestion. Emotionally, one of the ones is kind of a quickness to irritation or a quickness to anger and to frustration. And so that's an indication of liver qi congestion. Also, headaches on the side of the head, headaches behind the eyes, headaches at the top of the head can be an indicator of liver qi congestion. The other way that liver can, stress can affect us via liver congestion is in in challenging our digestive system. So in Chinese medicine, we say that the liver helps regulate digestion, and when liver qi becomes congested, it can insult or attack digestion, leading to things like nausea or bloating or uh, gas. Those are all things that we would go to liver congestion to treat in Chinese medicine. And one of the foods that we could use to support that, which is kind of like food and medicine, is this apple cider vinegar. And so 6 weeks or so, I went and picked several bushels of apples with one of my neighbors, and I pressed it, and extracted juice for apple cider and for making some fermented apple, apple jack, and then I took the apple debris, the cores and the skin, and I put that in a large Cambro, 5-gallon Cambro, and added spring water to it. And I think I also added 1 cup of organic apple cider vinegar just to kind of start it with the mother from that vinegar, and have left it a month. And on the blog, on the Health Hive blog, you can see that really it's taken about a month, and that apple juice has really fully translated itself into vinegar, and there's kind of a shiny, you can see the mother on top of all of that apple debris, and it's kind of a white, shiny, gelatinous substance. And now I'm going to take that and strain that, and I'll use that I use apple cider vinegar in a couple of different oxymels. I make a cough syrup that has apple cider vinegar, my honey in it, and also several of the herbs like L.A. and cherry bark, which are great bronchial support tools and help with cough and phlegm reducers, and things like mint. And it's a wonderful, the cough syrup is quite lovely. And apple cider vinegar is a part of that formula. I also use it in my elderberry immune support, which is elderberry and astragalus and propolis from the beehive, which is a very powerful antimicrobial, antiviral, with apple cider vinegar and honey, once again, as a support to strengthen our immune system and to protect us from getting cold and sick in the winter months. The other place I use that is in my fire cider. I use the apple cider vinegar, and I also make a couple of women's, I make what I think of as a women's cordial that has several berries in it that are good for building blood. And I have that infused in apple cider vinegar, which could be with honey, which could be used like with seltzer water and lime to make kind of a fun beverage, but could also be just used as a tonic. And so those are some of the places herbally, with some herbal products, that I use the apple cider vinegar. And for people that are this time of year, as the light is getting less and less, and people's that have light sensitivity and start to feel a greater sense of depression. This is also a liver congestion indicator, and just a little tiny shot of apple cider vinegar can really help free up that congestion very quickly and very gently. So that is another tool that folks could use that for. So that's that's one of the products I've been up to this month, is certainly since it's apple season, is working on creating a vat of vinegar to and for products for the winter.
Comment here.
There's a comment.
Comment.
Let's see.
From Kathleen Course.
Okay. Oh, so there's another comment here. Thank you for all the great info, Tamara. Another question for you. Herbicides such as Roundup appear to suppress the growth of beneficial gut bacteria. All bacteria, leading to the overgrowth of pathogenic bacteria. Can you speak to the importance of good gut bacteria and how we can help it to thrive? That's a great question. And one that I do cover in the new fermentation class that will be available November 18th. I really cover this quite thoroughly in a couple of the lectures that I do for that class. And yes, Roundup affects one of the life cycles of bacteria cells, really challenging and destroying the health and wellness and integration of the bacterial cells. And that is important because our core digestive function is based in the health, wellness, integration, and strong populations of beneficial gut microbes. And we used to think that that's all these microbes did, is they helped us to digest our food, but that is not the case. Now there are thousands of research studies showing how the relationship between the gut and the brain is vital for brain function. It's vital for immune system function. In fact, our immune system, 70% of our immune cells are located in the intestinal lining, and the gut microbes are directly in charge. They're at the control panel for our entire immune system. So what is happening with those gut bacteria is more important than we could have ever imagined. So the germ theory is really an outdated model for thinking about bacteria as these harmful antagonists that we must fight against constantly in order to protect ourselves from invasion and from their disease-causing actions. So one of the things that I do in the fermentation class is I'm hoping one of the things that I do is to help turn the wheel in how we're thinking about organisms as more as allies rather than as enemies, and that we really want to help our biomes, our various microbiomes, to strengthen. And in doing so, we, in effect, strengthen our own bodies. So some of the ways that can happen are by ingesting foods that contain bacteria, beneficial bacteria. So those foods are called probiotics, and they include foods like the lacto-fermented living pickles and sauerkrauts, and also foods like miso paste from Japan, or kefirs, yogurts. Those are probably some of the dairy fermentations are probably we're most familiar with. Even cheeses. These are all using organisms to preserve food, and that is how we begin kind of began to have some relationship with those organisms through food preservation traditions. However, our whole digestive system relies on those organisms that we're also using for food preservation, and continuing to eat those foods is vital for our health and wellness. Without those foods, our populations, our beneficial populations become imbalanced. We have bacteria in our gut that are, what we would call our unfriendly organisms. I mean, they are there as part of a balanced system. So they're only unfriendly when the system is in an imbalanced place, like Candida albicans. That's the Saccharomyces. It's a normal part of our intestinal lining. However, when our beneficial or lactobacteria or bifidobacteria colonies become less and less because they're not nurtured and nourished and fed, then the Candida albicans can start to proliferate. And then we have symptoms like a yeast infection that are not helpful for our bodies. And not just yeast infection. I mean, that yeast can proliferate and begin to affect all different parts of our system and our bodies. And thrush in the mouth is an indicator that Candida has become out of control in our bodies. And so, the herbal formulation that I use to very successfully addresses that are the berberines, the golden yellows that are very, very effective in addressing yeast, fungus, and molds in the body. And those healing golds include plants like Oregon grapefruit and golden seal, which is a plant that many people are familiar with, and I think is actually starting to be on the endangered plant list because it's really overly harvested in the wild. And golden thread, huanglian, the cactus root, that is a very powerful berberine. And also barberry, the traditional European plant that's used for intestinal and lung infections. All of these plants are very, very bright yellow. When I'm working with them in the kitchen and they pour on the kitchen sink, there's a stain there for weeks. I mean, they are very, very staining, very strong, strong for treating infections, strong anti-inflammatory plants, strong for purifying heat toxins in the body, great with ulcers and colitis, great at lowering blood glucose levels, and great at fighting off yeast. Of course, with yeast, it's also important to eat a diet that is free of all carbohydrates and all fermentations that are carbohydrate based, and for when there is yeast, this is a case in which you wouldn't be drinking apple cider vinegar. That would not be on the list because apple cider vinegar is made from fruit. So fruits and carbohydrates. Also wines and beers. Those are not on the Candida list. And dried fruit, of course, wouldn't be on that list also. So when somebody's working with trying to regain some balance in their gut, those are important pieces, along with the consumption of probiotics. So from food, which I think is the best way, but also when there's something pathological going on or there is kind of a strong imbalance, I think going to supplements is a great tool, at least for initially. And in what I've been reading, we're looking at medical dosage of probiotics being somewhere in the range of 150 to 200 billion organisms a day. So it's good to look for a probiotic that's got like 90 billion organisms per capsule, and then you would take 2 of those. Of course, you want to use a product that's got as many strains in it as possible. You want a nice mixture of strains. And in the as far as food is concerned, it's the kefirs and the water kefirs that offer you the greatest variety of organisms out of all of the different fermentations. And I mean, I think just basically sauerkraut that has been fully fermented is absolutely wonderful. So a tablespoon of kraut could go a long way daily, or even more if you are suffering from candida. So I think that's one piece to addressing the effects of GMOs on our on the health of our gut. And I'm going back to this question here to think if I have anything else to add to that. I think I did mention that bone stock's one of my go-tos for gut lining. Okay, so okay. Someone's asked about PMS and menopausal symptoms, and what are the best herbs to deal with that? There's really among all the systems, there are great herbs to deal with female issues. So I wonder if, traditionally, I think certainly in European medicine, traditional medicine, I think that women were very naturally ones who were gathering plants and serving as roles as healers. And women are, as they are the ones experiencing the, blood cycles and through menstruation and menopause, they are also, great healers of the same, of that, of those natural flows. So I think we've got great herbs because I think women have been in a place in the village or in the community where they were, really approached and looking for empirical experience with successfully treating these. And certainly, so I think that's the case for European medicine. In Ayurvedic medicine, the plant that just rises to the top for women is the shatavari, and that is a wonderful plant for supporting and balancing female hormones. And when we say female hormones for women, we're including testosterone in there. That's a combination of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and hormones which kind of cycle, and they have, there are times monthly when those hormones are higher and lower, and which can have effects on women if there are imbalances in those changes. And I think for PMS, PMS is a liver decongestion symptom in Chinese medicine. So we go to plants that help to move and activate liver alongside plants that help build blood as our main protocols for that. So Xiao Chai Hu Tong in Chinese is the kind of the leading formulation for that. So Chai Hu is the kind of the go-to plant, and then some of the other plants include plants like Dong Wei, Angelica, which I think many folks are familiar with Dong Wei as a support aid for PMS, and cramp bark, certainly if there is some pain associated with menstruation, and plants like passion flower for to help create a sense of calmness and ease. And so there are great formulas in Chinese medicine using those plants. And for menopausal symptoms, we also have awesome formulas for supporting the changes in blood and what we would say is kidney jing, and in what's happening with heat in the body and dampness in the body. All four of those kinds of qualities changing around menopause, leading to the different menopausal symptoms that women have, which are really quite extensive, from not just hot flashes, but night sweats, anxiety, insomnia, urinary tract infections, irritation. Some women feel like they're going out of their mind. They go from feeling like very strong, active, highly effective participants in their families and in their communities, in their work world, to feeling like they're going insane when these hormones begin to shift. And estrogen dominance is really very, very, very skillfully treated with Chinese medical herbs. So that is definitely a place to go for that. And chase treeberry is one of our leading plants for that. Also Waitza, the Schizandra berry. We also use that, especially if menopausal symptoms if women are experiencing a little bit of incontinence with menopause, which can also be a very uncomfortable symptom to be having with those changes. Of course, there are plants that are also phytoestrogenic, and these are not dangerous plants. Plants that are phytoestrogens are wonderfully supportive, and do not cause cancer. And those include seeds and alfalfa and soy even. And certainly soy is the best go-to there. I know people have some questions about soy out there. There's a lot of GMO soy out there, so organic soy that's fermented in the form of tempeh can be very helpful. And so that mixture, I think exercise is really important also with both PMS and with menopause, because it helps move the blood. And again, I think that's an important piece to help healing the body. So what do I do now? Thank you so much for listening. I hope that some of what I've said has been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in one of the classes.